Good morning. This is Andy with Buy with Equity, and everyone has been asking us, Andy, you show us so many positives and so many ways to make money in real estate, but we've heard about a lot of people that have just lost their butts in investment real estate. And you're absolutely right. If you don't buy these houses right and you don't have the right people on your team, you're going to get hosed. Any fast money in real estate is just that. You're fixing to get hosed. I'm a steady Eddie guy, so is my team. We are in the West End today. The house that I just started showing you a picture of is right across from the park in the West End. It's a great little area. There's some beautiful homes here. This was a very moneyed area back in its day. And this is an example of what to not do as a real estate investor. This owner, who's given me permission to talk about this property that Handy Andy's about to start the rehab on, this owner bought this house a number of years ago. He bought it through a wholesaler. He ended up paying a lot of money for this property. He's got over $200,000 tied in this property. His mortgage payment is about $1,600 a month. Had trouble renting it, got with some property management companies that really couldn't get the deal done. This was a beautiful home. It had granite counters, nice high-end finishes, tray ceilings throughout. We're gonna walk you through it real fast. This house caught on fire last October, and it's been sitting like this with him making payments ever since. The kids have now started smashing it up. Handy Andy's gonna get going on this thing tomorrow. We're gonna do a rehab here. Everybody in here said that this house needed to be torn down and built from scratch. The nearest bid to do this thing was over, I think it was like 250 was the lowest bid, but most of them are around $300,000. This is a classic arts and crafts style home. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's had some modernization, if you want to call it that. This faux brick water table, stone water table right here underneath that window was done probably in the 50s. This house is in the historic district of the West End, so anything done here has to be in keeping with the historic district. So it makes it a little bit harder, but we're gonna come through here. We're gonna go redo this property for him. You can see the windows and stuff. They'll let us put back what was already here, and you can see there was old wood siding underneath there, right there. This house just got tore up. It's a bloody shame. We will rehab this house. We'll be done here in about 3 months or so, and it will rent for probably about $1,100, maybe $1,200, through the Second Chance Home Program, which is a sister company of ours. But this is how investors get in trouble, and this is a bloody shame. This guy's been paying on this forever, and then the trick became that if it settled out for new construction, which meant that they're going to raise this house, he wouldn't have had the funds to come in here and rehab it. The mortgage would have been paid off, and he would have gotten a lot back, which he'd still be paying taxes on. He wouldn't have the funds to rebuild, and he'd probably just walk away from it. It had beautiful hardwood floors throughout, gorgeous fireplaces. You can see the conditions of the ceilings, what they did in here in a lot of these rooms. And this damage right here is actually from people coming into the house trying to steal wiring, and they fell through right here. This wasn't like this in my last visit. The original contractors that came through and overlaid drywall over plaster, which you can't do. Every ceiling in here is going to be knocked out. But you had recessed lights everywhere. Great fireplace here. Tray ceiling, double tray ceiling. You really can't see it in the darkness. But I just wanted to give everybody a feel. These were original windows. We can't change this window out. We actually have to rebuild it and put it back exactly as it is because of the historic district. And now you got knuckleheads shooting pistols and throwing rocks at the house. And you can actually see the rock over here. It's kids. And it just kills me. The hallway got torched. Someone actually came in here and put gasoline in here, but they weren't smart enough, or whatever they were trying to do. They didn't burn the whole house down. They just burned part of it. So this whole right side and the framing through the floors in here really got hit hard. And we're going to rebuild this whole section of the house. And this is the front bedroom, which is totally torched. The framing got, completely destroyed in here. The crew will come in here and start selectively demoing and reframing this property. But we will restore this property back to hopefully as nice as it was before. This is a rear chimney that caved in, which we won't, rebuild that, obviously. But you can see the framing and the plaster walls, and you can see what they did. They put drywall right here over plaster, which in an Atlanta market, you don't ever do that. It's an easy fix for contractors, but then you've trapped layers of mold, and you can actually see this isn't smoke damage. This is actually mold on the paper of the drywall that they put over this plaster. It can't breathe, so you just don't want to do that. You'll make a sick house. So most of this plaster is going to be torn out of here. This is a middle bedroom back here, and it's funny what people do. At some point, someone put tile in this room back here. This was probably a rooming house before the last gentleman who owns it now bought it and did this rehab in here. But it's 2.5 bathrooms. Sometimes in these older properties, you get into stuff like back here, where this isn't fire damage. This is actually termite damage. They ate that whole post and beam out of what was a a rear porch. Someone came in the rehab, made that a rear eat-in sunroom. But it's a pretty interesting home. We've done much worse than this, so everyone's saying, oh my God, what are you going to do with this house? Handy Andy will knock this thing out. It's a lot of work, but fortunately, he got lucky and just kind of happened to stumble across us, actually through the insurance company. The insurance company recommended us. He had so much trouble getting contractors out here and getting someone that could turn this house around. But that's not his only problem as an investor, is it? And that's what happens to a lot of investors. They get out here, they buy a house, they find a cheap contractor, then they find the cheapest person to try and rent the management property, or they try to do it themselves. If you're going to come out here and be a real estate investor, what you really want to learn to do is form your team of people that you can trust to get it done with. Because at the end of the day, you can't do all this stuff yourself. You're going to pay people a little bit more than you'd like to, and I understand that. I run into that same issue myself. I'm very, very frugal. It's how I got to be wealthy in the first place, but I'm cheap. I like frugal, but I'm really cheap. You know, I shop at Goodwill. I do all kinds of eccentric things. So I'm not recommending that you do that, but there's certainly nothing wrong with saving money. But where you don't save money is when you're doing a team concept. You put the people in your team that you trust to get the job done, and you pay them. And you pay them well because they do what they do. We will have this property rented before the rehab is finished. He may have an occasional eviction here. People are losing their jobs right now. Things are going on in the economy. But you pay the people right to do it. We came across a property management company recently that is charging 5% to manage. Standard in the Atlanta market is 8 to 10%. And I can promise you, as a property manager myself, that we're limiting our exposure in that business because there's no money in it. So anybody that's going to do it at 5%, they're going to have to crank them on the repairs. We don't do that. Handy Andy charges what they charge. Their baseline charges for a lot of stuff. But again, it comes back down to just getting your team in place. You can see where the burn came across. This is across the hallway here. So it actually burned across from below. This burning right in here probably wasn't even related to this fire. This probably had to do with somebody in here honestly smoking crack is what this probably is. I can see footprints all over in here. So another fireplace. This was just a magnificent home. And I promise you, when Handy Andy is done with this and Second Chance rents it, that you'll come out and you'll see a beautiful home. We invite all you guys out to an open house that we'll have as the project nears completion, so you can kind of get a feel and an education. Real estate is really about getting an education. Whether you're a retail buyer or you're an investor, it's not about reinventing in the wheel. It's also not about getting all these expensive seminars and going to the RIAs and learning all this stuff, because it costs you a lot of money, and in reality, it's like a lot of these self-help seminars that people go to. And you feel pumped when you get out, don't you? You feel really good. Look at your life a week later and tell me what changes you made. None. You had a good 3-day weekend or whatever. You know, maybe you made a couple of new friends or something. That's what happens in real estate too. The real truth of real estate is there's no reason to reinvent the wheel. Now, what my group does here is pretty steady Eddie kind of return stuff. We can literally take anybody who's willing to listen, who's willing to put some time in, who's willing to learn and pay attention. Come out here, you can be mortgage free in 4 to 10 years with us. As an investor, you can build a multi-million-dollar portfolio, let your tenants pay it off. And here's the key. By renting through the Second Chance program or affiliated programs, you're going to actually give people the opportunity to do what you've done. And that's what we're doing. That's exactly what my team is doing, is trying to teach our clients, both investors and retail buyers, how to do what we've done so you don't wind up in something like this. This is a damn travesty. The first time I looked at this house, I wanted to cry. And the only reason that we encourage this client to hang in here and keep this property is what you're seeing right here. 5 years from now, this house is $350,000. You can see what's going on the other side of the park. Here's the problem with real estate investing. You got to get from A to sale point. So where you are now, if you got 5 years to travel, you've got to get those through that path. And without the right people on your team, it's not going to happen. So anyway, this is kind of a sad story right now. This is a real ugly duckling that's going to turn into a swan. And it's going to take about 90 days to do it. But this house, I promise you, will be spectacular again. The only saving grace is that this guy had a great insurance company, Foremost Insurance, that was willing to work with him to get this thing going. We recommend Foremost for a lot of our insurance and a lot of our investors and retail buyers, but particularly our investors. Good company to do business with, people. Give us a call, 770-265-9017. But here's a negative, so don't say I didn't show you a negative. Real estate is not all positive, but if you get with the right people, man, you can make some miracles happen every single day. Real estate is the #1 source of wealth in this country. It has been for hundreds of years. It'll continue to be so. And the beautiful thing about houses like, not necessarily this one, but houses that we show you in our system, you can buy those houses, get started today, either to move in it yourself, or we'll show you how to rent it. We'll show you how to work some loan programs. Give us a call, 770-265-9017.